Hi friends, I'm Gio, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do chapter 25 for From a Stranger. Monday, June 30th. Ilio. I did not like waking up this morning. Danny wasn't there. I placed my hand where he would have slept, feeling the cold space where it should have been warm. In only a few days, I had gotten used to him sleeping next to me. The house was too quiet, even though everybody was up. Shani practiced yoga outside, by herself, mimicking the same routine she had watched Danny do. Mom and Grammy were making breakfast. No conversation. The flowers I had gotten for Danny were in a vase on the table. Leilani cut one off and placed it in her hair. Leilani sat on the couch, holding a cushion, staring at the window at nothing. Johnny sat at the dead computer, spinning on his chair. Mom hadn't decided if Johnny was banned for it for a week or a month. We all congregated at the kitchen table, silent as ghosts, eating. Mom broke the ice. "Are you going surfing today with Billy?" "A little while later. We have to make a couple of stops first. Then I'm taking him to where I poured Timmy's ashes," I said, as if the conversation couldn't get any more morbid. "Johnny, do you want to come?" Johnny took a big bite of a syrup-drenched pancake and nodded. He said something, but his mouth was so full I couldn't understand him. Today was day 3 of my 4-day weekend, and I knew exactly what I needed to do. After breakfast, we cleaned up, got the boards ready, and waited for Billy to swing by with his van. We loaded it and took off. For my first stop, NK Aloha. The second stop, the police station. Danny. I slept on Dad's couch last night. I could have slept in my old room. Dad had preserved it just like it was when I was in high school. But it felt odd somehow. It was my room, my old bed, my old furniture. But it wasn't me any longer. That, and as tired as I was, I woke up every hour looking for Ilio. Dad was just getting up when I got out of the shower and dressed. Yes, I should have worn a white button-down shirt and tie and sensible shoes, but I didn't. Wearing a tie-dye t-shirt and board shorts and sandals and my anklet and my necklace, I had a week's growth of a scraggly beard and a sunburned nose and fried ears. I didn't care anymore what people thought of me. I still had a little of that designer bruise on the side of my head, though my hair mostly covered it. What do you know? My hair is a little sun-bleached, and my skin is tanning. Nothing like finding out the hard way about how serious Edwin is about dress codes. I touched the ring around my neck, checked the rainbow anklet around my leg, and kept my breakfast simple. Toast and coffee. Death by coffee. My coffee. I borrowed a thermos, filled it, and drank the rest. It really is the best coffee. Waking up without Ilio had stolen my appetite. I could barely finish one toast, and took the second for later. "Tiffany and I are meeting for lunch today. Do you want to join us?" Dad asked, scrambling his usual egg white omelet. Today he added mushrooms and pepperoni and drenched it in marinara and Parmesan cheese. My family are real gourmets. "Text me where you'll be and I'll try and join you," I said. I took my duffel with me as I went to work, leaving it in the car. I guess the honeymoon was officially over, but I checked my phone to see if Ilio had called anyway, or texted. What time was it in Hawaii? I sent him a text. "Miss you, babe." I put the phone back in my pocket and walked into work. It vibrated 2 minutes later, and I pulled it out. "I miss you more, babe." When I walked in, everybody had to know about my necklace. I told them about Ilio, my boyfriend. Yes, I came out to them, and I showed them pictures. Edwin rolled up. "Slacker, you ready to get to work?" That was Edwin offline. I didn't have to tell Edwin anything. He lived it with me. When I sat at my computer, that's when Edwin and I connected. "Welcome back. Nice shirt," he instant messaged. "Thanks. But I wish I was back in Hawaii, I instant messaged back. You know, you just shattered the dress code. Oops, we have a dress code? Had, he sent. It was like that all morning. Around break, I had to answer more questions and show more pictures. Did they care that I was gay? For about 10 seconds. Then they wanted to know about the wedding fiasco, about surfing, Ilio's tattoo, Billy's surfing, and how I met a fire dancer. I didn't have to tell Edwin. It turns out he and Billy had already emailed each other. Online, Edwin is a different person than he is in real life. For lunch, I met Dad and Tiffany at Mama Italiana's, where we dined outside. We spoke about everything. I went back to work, already wishing I was back in Hawaii. I sent another text. Played 20 questions at work. I think Edwin's secretary has a crush on you, I sent. I kept checking the phone, but no text. Ilio must be surfing, or maybe he was called in at the Monarch. 11 was his lunch. That translated into what time here? I emailed Edwin. His response, 2. You need to go back to Honolulu. You got more work done. I sent him a laughing emoji and got back to work. About 1, Dad called, but it wasn't Dad. It was Tiffany on Dad's phone. I guess they had gotten pretty close if she knew how to unlock it. Your dad has had a heart attack, she said, crying. It felt like all my blood had been replaced with ice water. Ilio. The visit to the police station had been quick. Only 30 minutes, and they recommended someone I contact. I called them, and that took a little longer than 30 minutes. Are you sure about this? Billy said, pulling out onto the road. Johnny sat in the passenger seat, and I sat on the floor behind them. After what happened Saturday, I said, holding onto the wheelchair as Billy took another turn. Yes, I am. What happened? Johnny asked, turning around to look at me. I told them everything, mostly. I left out the part where Danny threw himself at me. Johnny didn't say anything. Maybe it was a case of too much information, or way too much information you should never hear about your brother. I guess I had overwhelmed him this weekend, because he had learned things about me that he had never even suspected. Billy, on the other hand, should have said something. You're awfully quiet. Did I say too much? I asked. No. Billy changed lanes, driving faster than he usually did. I think I hate Noah more. About a minute later, my phone rang. It wasn't Danny, but the Monarch. On my day off, even. Hello, I answered. Ilio, hi, Chansey said. I know you have time off, and I hate to bug you, so I'll make it quick. That's okay. What is it? I asked. Housekeeping went through the lotion room, getting it ready for tonight's guests, and they found Danny's suitcase. I tried calling him to see what he wanted us to do with it, but he's not answering. Do you know? She said. At least they weren't calling me into work. I'm coming your way right now. I can pick it up and ask him when I call him a little later, I said. I'll bring the case to the sand crab and we can all have lunch together, she said. I've got friends with me, I said. Bring them along, Chansey said. It's about time for another party. We haven't had one since Saturday, Billy said. A little while later, we pulled into the parking lot of the Monarch Imperial. Monday morning was a busier than normal day. A lot of guests had stayed the full weekend and were heading out. I texted Danny. No response. I tried calling, and it went straight to voicemail. He should be at work right now, so I would have to wait until his break, whenever that was. A couple walked past, holding hands, and chatting about a visit to Pearl Harbor. I'd been there once, but once you know the story, it kind of gives you the creeps. If Danny had wanted, I would have taken him, but I'm glad he didn't mention it. Death is hard for me. We didn't get the boards out. None of us were in the mood to surf. Instead, Billy rolled his chair as close as he could. He brought his racing chair today. Then I carried him the rest of the way to Danny's yoga spot. Billy was lighter than you would expect. Maybe it was my imagination, but I swear I could tell which footprints were Danny's. With all the people that had been here last weekend, it was impossible for any marks to be Danny's. But I imagined. I knew the exact spot he had been at last Sunday. When we talked, I looked at the ocean from his vantage. What had he seen from here? Danny had known exactly what I was doing and understood what it meant. "So this was where you met Danny?" Johnny asked. "Third time," I said. "Show us your first time," Billy said. "I can't believe you said that," I said, and took him back to his wheelchair. The sun was high, the sky partly cloudy. No rain yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it started within the hour. This is Hawaii. We walked over to the sand crab. Johnny hadn't had the chance to look at the grounds before, or the swimming pools, or the gardens. The Monarch Imperial isn't world famous for nothing. They had a photo shoot last year for a travel magazine, and they only used 1/10 of the pictures they could have. Online, you only get a taste of what it's like. Barney stood at the bar, as usual, a towel over his shoulder, and filling a glass with cola. He nodded at a table. Lynette, Chansey, Mauricio, and several others were already sitting. We pulled a table over so we could join them. "Billy, Johnny, good to see you again," Lynette said, rising from her seat. "Ilio, I swear you're as bad as Danny with days off. He doesn't know what those are, does he?" "How do they know my name?" Johnny whispered to me. "Hotel secret," I whispered back. "Here's Danny's suitcase," Chansey said, and slid it over to me. "Thanks," I said. Danny would not want anyone to see what was inside. Button-down shirts and sensible shoes would scare any movie monster. A few people wandered in. Barney came over and brought drinks for everyone. Nobody had ordered them. He set a napkin down in front of me. It said, "From a stranger." "Danny?" I said. "Danny must be here. I looked around, but I didn't see him. Barney?" Everybody looked at Barney. Barney shrugged. His eyes had a mischievous glint. "The guy at the bar had some credit left, so he's buying lunch for all of you." We all stared at the bar, but there was no Danny, only the sand crab's wall phone lying on the counter. I don't remember getting out of my chair. I was there so fast. "Danny?" I said. "Hey, boyfriend." Danny's voice was tired. "Sorry I didn't call back. It's been a day." "How come you're on Barney's line?" I asked. "I wasn't sure if you said you worked today or not, so I took a chance. Did I surprise you?" "In a good way. Call me back on my phone. You can have lunch with all of us," I said. It only took 10 seconds before my phone rang. I answered it and set it on the table by me. Vid chat, and Danny looked exhausted and pale. He was walking down a hallway, with a nurse's station behind him. "Hey, Danny," Lynette said. "Ilio's got your suitcase," Chansey said. "You better get back here tomorrow," Billy said. "Ilio's going crazy without you." Danny smiled with each comment, but his eyes were red. I leaned over the phone. "Babe, what's wrong?" Our table quieted down. Barney appeared with our orders. Danny stared at something off screen and wiped an eye with the back of one hand. "I just needed to hear your voice." "Why are you at the hospital?" I asked. Our table became deathly quiet. Danny sniffed and wiped at his eyes again. "It's your dad, isn't it? What happened?" I asked. "Tiffany said he went to get the mail, and she found him on the ground with junk mail everywhere." Danny bit his lip and wiped at his eye again. "They think it's a heart attack, a bad one. He was fine at lunch and this morning. This can't be happening. Not Dad." "Danny, I'm sorry," Lynette said. "Where's he at now?" Mauricio said, and set his sub down and leaned in. "The cardiac unit at Long Ridge Memorial. They didn't take him to emergency, but straight here. That's why I couldn't call you. They have signs every 2 feet saying all phones must be off, sensitive equipment. I'm heading back in a few minutes." Billy placed a hand on my shoulder. "What can we do?" "Well, look who the devil kicked out of hell," Chansey said, leaned back and shook her head. "Give me that suitcase. I want to give him a bump like Danny's." I smelled the cologne before I heard the footsteps. I went from calm to angry in 3 seconds. Hello, Noah. Thank you, friends, for sharing this chapter with me. I appreciate it. Peace.